And happy Monday. Welcome to August. It is time for another Mindful Play Monday Live, where we tune in each week sharing a quick and easy mindfulness activity, craft, or something that you can do with your children at home and in the classroom, getting ready for back to school this week, and focusing on mindful communication skills. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. The only things that you'll need for today's activity are some yarn or string. You'll need some thicker pieces of cardboard. We're just using some off of an old box of trash bags here, something that's a little bit thicker and sturdy. You'll need a hole punch and a marker of some sort. You'll also want to have some paper handy. We're using some bigger chart paper today. You can just get like a roll of paper. Even the back side of a roll of wrapping paper would work. You want something that's going to give you a little bit more room to draw than just a regular size sheet of paper. So for today, we're going to be talking about communication skills and teamwork, because we all know teamwork makes the dream work. So this is going to be a fun one to do at home, just one-on-one with your child. You'll need at least 2 people. You can also do 4 people. You can even do 6 people if you're working in small groups in the classroom or at a summer camp. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. So for this activity, as I mentioned, you'll need some chart paper or a larger sheet of paper that you can write with. And you're going to cut your thicker cardboard pieces into just little rectangles there. And then I went ahead and used like an X-Acto knife to score these. So you can kind of see X marks the spot. We're going to go ahead and do that ahead of time before your kiddos are there, so that of course you're not using that with your little ones. And then I'm using a Sharpie today. If you are not comfortable with using permanent markers, you can of course just use a regular Crayola washable marker, works fine too. And you're going to use that to hold into your little cardboard stand there. And then that hole punch that I mentioned, you're going to punch 4 holes into the corners, or you could do 6 or 8, as I mentioned, if you're doing this in a classroom with larger groups, and attach your string. So like I said, I already pre-scored my X there, so it makes it a little bit easier to stick the marker in. I'm just going to take my hole punch and punch the holes in the corners. Now you do, even if you're only doing this with 2 people, just you and your child at home, you still need 4 holes, and I'll show you why, because that's going to help stabilize and balance your strings, because what we're going to do then is use this as a fun little tool to talk about communication skills. What does that even mean? What is communication skills? That just means how we are explaining things to our friends, how we're explaining things to our children, to our students, to our teachers. And that is important, right? Because we want them to understand us, and we want us to be able to work together as a team to better understand each other and complete those tasks. So to save us time, I'm just going to do the 2. You see there, all I did was tie a piece of string about 1 foot long. If you are working on the floor, like in a classroom or on a large table, you can make those strings even longer if you're reaching across the table. Since we're just here in our small group and just me for today, I'm just keeping those about 1 foot long. So what you're going to do then is have your marker in place. You're just going to poke it through that hole in the middle of your cardboard. And then let me show you here, I'll angle down. I have gone ahead and drawn a little maze. Now you don't have to do this. This is one of the many options that you could do for this listening and communicating activity. We're just going to use a maze as an example. You could also just have a big blank sheet of paper and instruct your students or your children to draw something. So like draw a house, draw a star, draw a person, try to draw a heart, anything that's going to be simple and something that all of your children will understand what the prompt is for your drawing. So with this, you're going to have each child, or if you're working just with one child, the adult can hold one side of the 2 strings and the child can hold the other side of the 2 strings. And what you're going to do is have to communicate, kind of like tug of war, but we're not going to be pulling and creating a tug of war. You're going to have to communicate with each other on how to direct and move together that pen or that marker. So I'm going to scoot over here. We've kind of got our starting point. So you can imagine if I was doing this with my daughter or my son, they could each have a string if we wanted to do it in a group of 3, and then myself, maybe my husband could have the other string. Or again, if you're just doing two, you could have two strings for one kid on one side, 2 strings for the other kid on the other side. Now we tried to do this before with just 2 strings on the corners, that you'll see that that marker just keeps tipping over. So you do need at least 4 holes and 4 strings to keep the marker nice and stable. So we'll pretend this hand is another child, and you're going to put your marker at the start of your maze, or again, if you're directing them to use teamwork and draw a picture together, you could have them just start in the middle of the paper, and you're going to have to say, okay, pull this way, pull that way, left, right. And this is going to be a great way to focus on our communication skills and our listening skills, because you're trying to work together. Again, we're pretending this hand is a different child or a different adult, and get through that maze. So you can see if one kid pulls really hard, the pen or the marker is going to scoot across. If one kid is not pulling their own weight, pulling enough, you can see that the marker will go the opposite way. So of course I'm doing a little bit better now because I'm holding both sides of the marker. So it's going to be different when you have 2 or more people or 2 or more children working together to try to follow that path and trace that maze. Again, you don't have to do a maze. That's just kind of a fun way to keep focused and work on talking to each other. So what does this mean? How does this work for mindfulness? It's a couple different things, right? So we're working on our communication skills, because if you're doing this with 2 or more people, you're going to have to say, oh, pull left, oh, pull right, or pull up, pull down, don't pull so hard, pull softer, pull harder, to get that pen to move to where you want it to go. That's one skill that we could all work on, being more clear in our communication, but also working on our listening skills, right? Because if your partner is telling you to pull this way or pull that way or pull up or pull down, you're going to have to listen and actually follow, process, think about where they're telling you to pull on the strings so that the pen will go where you need it to go. So you can see this is going to be kind of a challenge, especially for our younger ones that are having trouble focusing or having trouble listening and following directions. It's a great fun game to help practice those skills. And additionally, we're going to be using this to talk about teamwork, right? We say teamwork makes the dream work. What does teamwork even mean? Well, you can see there's 4 strings, there's 2 sides. So we have to use teamwork. We have to work together and communicate, work together to achieve our goal of drawing the picture or also tracing around the maze. So a couple different ways you could do this one, but a really fun and quick, easy way to set up a team building activity for back to school and getting your students to communicate, learn from, and collaborate with each other. Also just a really fun one to do at home with you and your children, or even one-on-one with your child. Again, you do need to have at least 4 strings to keep that pen stable. If you have a larger group, you could add more holes on either side, again, to help direct and pull that marker where you would like to go. So teamwork makes the dream work. We're kicking off the month of August, getting ready for back to school, going to be focusing on ways to prepare ourselves for our either first time in school or coming back and returning to school. We've got different activities scheduled for you this month of August, so be sure to tune in and give this one a try. All we needed were string, a little piece of cardboard, a marker, and then a larger piece of paper. So we've got like a paper roll here. You could easily just use the back side of some wrapping paper if you don't have a roll of paper at home. Thanks for joining us. Work on those communication skills. Make sure you are practicing your teamwork skills as we get ready for back to school, and we'll have more Mindful Play Monday activities for you throughout the rest of the month. I'll be sure to have our recording up here shortly on our YouTube channel, so make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you next week for more mindful fun. Thanks for joining us.